cutting had become numb to me. It just didn't do what it used to. I got baptized when I was 12, but I didn't really know what it meant to be a Christian. High school was not the easiest time for me. From 7th grade until the end of 8th, I was cutting myself. For 2.5 years, I struggled with suicidal thoughts, and nobody knew. Nobody knew I was depressed. Nobody knew how hard it was for me to go to school every day. And then things got bad at home as well. My mom got sick and family troubles started. From going to school and being bullied, and then coming home, I felt like I was being bullied as well. So going to school, I hated it, and going home, I hated it. I had no fortress. I had nowhere I felt safe and calm. I was in my bedroom one night. I was sobbing my heart out, and I decided that that was it. I didn't want to continue. I didn't feel like life was worth it. I didn't feel like I was worth it. I just wanted everything to end. Cutting had become numb to me. It just didn't do what it used to. And I was left with just my thoughts, and I couldn't handle it. I didn't know how to handle it. And I was alone and scared. That night, when I was in my bedroom, changed the rest of my life. I stood up. I waited for my parents to leave. They were going wherever they were going. And I decided this was it. I'm done. And I stood up to go to the kitchen, and something strong pushed me back. And I sat on the edge of my bed, just like, wow. And I wasn't scared. I didn't feel like my house was haunted. I knew it was God. I felt calm, and I had a peace and love that I've never felt before. And it engulfed me. You know the feeling you get when somebody's hugging you, like they're squeezing you and you just want them to let go, and you get so annoyed and they won't leave you alone? That's what it was like. God was hugging me. He was squeezing me and telling me not to do it, that life was worth it, that there was something more. I had a purpose. And for the first time, I felt God's love. And that night shaped the rest of my life. I just craved it. I wanted to know more about Him. I wanted to know more about what His purpose for me was. And that night, I decided the rest of my life is going to be dedicated to Him and what He wants me to do.
And she looked at me in like total and complete fear. Like she was like, and just disappointment. She was like, is this, my son? There were a lot of things, when I was young that I was influenced by. A lot of it would have to be from music. Like hard rock and roll, like death metal, like satanic music. I used to always be wearing black, I used to always be wearing chains, I used to always be wearing studded bracelets and spikes and all these type of things. That was me. I used to wear eyeliner, I used to paint my nails black, I used to do all sorts of things. It was just silly, foolish. With that music came a lot of different influences. There was suicide, there was anger, there was, depression, there was insecurities. For a long period of time in my life, I think I remember from I was in like prep school, I always thought I was ugly for years upon years upon years. I used to also be a cutter. I used to cut myself constantly. I think almost every night I would go to sleep and I'd always be cutting myself. Sometimes I actually didn't know why. I remember being so angry sometimes, with my parents, with my brother, for sometimes absolutely no reason, just a little bit, just those little things that would spark off, those arguments. I even remember, I remember getting in a massive argument with my mom one time, And I don't know where this came from. And I lift up my hand like I was going to box her in her face. And she looked at me in like total and complete fear. Like she was like, and just disappointment. She was like, is this, my son? One of my girlfriends, she actually, after I broke up with her, she actually attempted suicide. She like overdosed on about like 30 pills or more. And then if it wasn't for one of her good friends, thankfully got her to the hospital in time and got everything out. And I remember that was just like a wake-up call. It was just like, Bran, you remember when she wasn't dealing with these things, and now that you guys have been together, been close, now she's struggling with it. Now she's actually gone further than you have. And, it was literally just a wake-up call for me to just start actually seeking God. For me, seeking God was with fellowship. For me, seeking God was with my friends. It was with the people that was at church. It was with the elders at church. It was just that community that I needed to walk beside me while I tried to follow Christ. It took years. It took years of healing, to come out of those situations and to actually be free from them and not to live in guilt and shame anymore. When you get to that point where you start to getting to know Christ, start getting to know his different sides, getting to know joy and peace, I don't see why you'd want to live in any other way.
I'm black and I'm proud and Afrocentric and the whole 9 yards. Growing up in England, you have this thing where you want to be white. Then you come to Jamaica and then you want to be a brownie. There's just so much things at play when you're growing up and you're in an uptown society. And pretty much, I call it toning, but I'd want to say I probably had dabbled in bleaching. And then I had this kind of revivalism where, I'm black and I'm proud and Afrocentric and the whole 9 yards. And then, that still wasn't fulfilling. God has just revealed himself to me. That I'm me. I can't be anybody else. And at the end of the day, what really got to me was the fact that, look, I'm made in his own image and his likeness, and, he loves me how I am. I now live to just be me.